All right, welcome back to the Nate Tutas Show. And today I am so incredibly excited because I am joined by my good friend, Brian Skillen, which it's weird. I was looking at your name and I'm like, Brian John Skillen. I'm like, what? Anyway, Brian Skillen, who is an expert when it comes to helping people to actually create, be authors, right? To use their creativity and their genius to actually plug that into a book so that they can gain authority in their market. So Brian, welcome to the show. It's great to have you, man.
Oh, Nate, it is so amazing to be here. Yeah, as you're saying, we run a company called Publishing Hackers, where we help you get your book off of your computer and out into the world. But more importantly, we help you to become Amazon bestsellers so that you gain the notoriety, essentially, of being a bestseller that goes through there. And there's nothing like writing a book for your business. You see all the big people do it, like Russell, like Tony, Deed, like all these guys, right? And the reason why is because the longer you're inside somebody's head, the more they're going to trust, like, and know from you. And the more they do that, the easier it is to close sales and whatnot. They make great sales tool for any business person.
Yeah, I think it was Daniel Priestley I was watching. I could be wrong on this, but I think it was Daniel Priestley who said that it requires, in order to move a deal forward, right, with a customer, there's a lot of metrics out there as far as how many touches do you actually have to have with the individual, right? But those are always really difficult to measure. And what he talked about, and again, I think it was Daniel Priestley. If I'm crediting the wrong person, forgive me, but we'll figure it out. But I think he said it actually takes 7 hours of time with that person. So he denoted, he was like, that's one of the reasons that podcasts and YouTube long form are so incredibly powerful. And same thing with books, because you're with that person, you're in their head for that amount of time, right? So
exactly.
If you just think of like Jocko Willink as an example, because he's a really easy one that like blew up over the last couple of years. He started with a podcast, long form podcast that he was doing with Echo, right?
Yeah.
And those podcasts were like 2 to 4 hours when they first started. Like they're really, really long deep
That's
dive.
commitment. I love it.
And he posted that on YouTube as well. So it's like you watch 2 of those and you're already sucked into his world and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go get extreme ownership. I'm going to implement it. Like I'm going to put it everywhere. And it was because you had spent so much time with Jocko that you were indoctrinated into his way of thinking immediately. Right. Whereas had Jocko tried to do that same thing with like shorts or reels on Instagram, you just think about it, like
it's 90
seconds to get up to 7 hours. Like we're talking a lot. So I love the idea of the book format to get inside of people's heads. As you know, I've got a couple of different books that I'm in the process of writing right now.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about some of the things that you've done, because I know you're really big on the AI side of it and how AI is actually helping people to get those books off their computer and onto the publishing spaces, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
how does that work?
There are a couple of different things. So I'm so thrilled about AI with this. It's been so much fun. A lot of people use AI to write books these days, but we kind of are on the other end of using it for publishing. Because personally, like myself and several other authors, you write because you love writing. You just don't like the other stuff that comes with it, like the marketing of the book and going through there. So while we can help you go through and write with AI, we focus a lot more on publishing. But the important thing that we do is we've set up this system. I call it the Publishing HQ, right? The Publishing Hackers HQ. And what we do is we create like a central nervous system for your publishing company. And there you have your CEO, your COO, and also your architect and your, I know them by name. So doing their roles, I'm like, I just want to say you're Edith and you're Sky. But Edith is records and Sky is creating your author clone, right? So the first thing we help with our authors when they're going through there is setting up the central hub. And then depending on what you need from there, we have 2 different branches we build out. One for if you're writing your book, or one if you're publishing your book. And the way we set it up is your CEO helps you to hire the role that then you're going to put in there. So your company can keep expanding as you're going. And I love it. We keep continuity by hosting it inside of Google Drive, right? So we set up a central nervous system inside Google Drive that the program can keep referring back to. So you get continuity of everything, continuity of your brand, continuity of each author that you're in there. So we run it for ourselves, but also for other authors as well. So we put them in there, and each author has an intelligence inside here that our team can kind of pull off of and bring in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And what I love about that is one of the biggest things that I learned when it comes to like really moving the needle forward between ineffective AI and effective AI is context, right? Everybody
Absolutely. Yeah.
thinks it's around the prompt itself, but one of the things I learned from one of my buddies is that for every word of prompt, you want 500 words of context at a minimum, right? So if you think
So
about
true.
like a 10-word prompt, you need 5,000 words worth of context for that thing in order for the
Mhm.
prompt to actually do what it's supposed to do. And so I love the fact that you guys are kind of housing this in this central node and then figuring out like what are the roles that an actual publishing company would have and just
Exactly.
recreating those roles so that they then can go and do that work for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing because we've kind of set them up inside there, and then as you're saying the context, right? So I'll give you an example for myself. One of the things we did recently was because I'm also an author, award-winning, best-selling, a lot of blah 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 blah. Anyways, we went through and I took all of my podcasts and all of my podcasts, all my YouTube videos, everything, and we took the transcripts from them. So we used an extension to go through because sometimes when you just have it go watch the video, it doesn't always get everything. So
Mhm.
we created the transcripts, and I have over 110 pages, or maybe like 200 pages, like around there, of just like this is Brian Jod Skillen, right?
Yep.
So this is his voice, this is the way he talks. So our whole team has that, and now what we're doing is my Sky, like the Sky is the in charge of author voice,
Mm.
and we're now making the author clone from that essentially. So it's going to be a clone for writing all my emails, doing a video clone as well, doing all the videos, so it's really going through and putting it through that lens. Now, this is the important step that a lot of people miss a lot of the times too. I have a systems architect in there, and what they do is after every session, I always have them log it and update all the files inside the drive, right?
Mm.
Because if
Yep.
you don't update it, then you're working off of old information. So after, I'm like, after I finish something, I was like, that was really cool. I'm like, go ahead and log it. And they go through and they log it and add it to the institutional memory, right?
Mm.
So you're really creating this huge institutional memory that the whole organization can go on to. And then what I've been doing for our authors is we've been taking the system that I used and giving them my agents already. They can rename them, whatever, but
Yep.
giving them the systems that we spent so much time building,
Mhm.
going through, so they know exactly how to act. There's also a hierarchy of decision making that happens. So if one AI doesn't know, or one of my agents doesn't know the answer, then they have to go to this one and this one and this one and one, all the way up to our CEO in the chain of everything. It's so cool. Like I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really what's really intriguing to me about it is if you understand the way that businesses work and you understand the actual structure, right?
Mhm.
The expertise that you can bring by building that into an ecosystem of agents that actually work together hand in hand and
Yeah.
know, like you said, that decision architecture, right, of where that decision needs to come from, right? That's a lot of what we're helping companies to go in and actually be able to build out is not so much the agent side of it. That part will come, but it's
Yeah.
really understanding that decision architecture because there's so many
Mhm.
businesses that we interact with that don't have that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you wonder why your team doesn't go out and execute your vision. It's because if I was to ask them, "Hey, what's the vision?" I would probably get, if I asked 10 executives, I'd probably get 10 different answers, right?
Mhm.
But the worst thing is I said, "Cool, how will you know when you've actually executed that vision?" That answer is almost always
I love
completely
that.
divergent from one to the other that you're
Yeah.
like, "How did you come up with that?" Right?
Yeah.
So being able to define that and then put that into a business structure and hierarchy where you say, cool, here's what the outcome is that we're going for. We're looking for a published author
Mhm.
that's going to have Amazon bestseller, this, and this. And here's how those decisions work through the ecosystem. You've already figured that out with hundreds
Yep.
of clients through your
Yep.
program. Now you've built it into this. It's absolutely amazing. So
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. We took like our 5-6 years of publishing expertise of getting hundreds of authors published, hundreds of people. Like one of our clients recently closed $100,000 package off of their book. They just read the book and went through the ecosystem,
yep.
which was amazing. Like kind of coming through. But we took all that information and we put it into this centralized hub. The other thing I was going to say too that I really liked where you're coming from. So you're talking about the hierarchy, but then there's also what a good outcome looks like. So that's the other thing that people miss with AI. You
Mhm.
have to give it parameters of this is what a good outcome looks like. And also the other thing too is everybody in the right role. AI gets
Yep.
confused if it's wearing too many hats. And so you have to, I want one AI that is just so good, one agent that is just so good at making content, right? And everything's going to go to that person. Like one person can write it, and I'm calling them people now.
Yeah.
I've been working with them
Well,
too much.
that's one of the things. A lot of people call
One
them
agent.
AI agents, and a lot of people are like, no, they're AI employees. Like treat them like people, give them
They totally are.
personalities.
Yeah.
Like, um,
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying to you, like I don't even remember the
yep.
roles anymore. I remember their names. I'm like, oh yeah, Michael does this. It's just like it just sort of happens like that. But I think the more you personify them, the better they become, and the more rounded the personalities become too. Because I think you as a user interacts with each one differently. At least I do, anyways.
Yeah.
I know my authors.
Yeah.
Are
Well,
too.
the other thing, like you talked about, kind of breaking those skills out. That's something that I think is really hard for people to kind of contemplate, because when you go to hire a human, right? You hire a human based off of a role, and then they have all these different skill sets they need to be able to execute inside of that, right? And typically, if you're going to build like an agent, you're actually going to build it so that those skill sets are there, but sometimes those are separate, because you want one that does the mining, and then you want the other one that takes the mining and then goes and does the updates, like you were talking about, right? Because if you had it do both, it gets confused somewhere in between there, and it's like, wait a minute, I have way too much context. I need to go update. It goes and does an update, then it comes back and is like, where was I? It's like a human trying to switch context all the time. It doesn't work. So
it doesn't work as well. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you give them clear parameters for each one, and we do this too with our, when we hire them, we have a whole job description for everything that goes in there. And then the job description goes in, we have SOPs and like everything on the back end inside that Google Drive. I mean, I should show it to you. It's just like that many folders.
Well, and that, like, when you have that structure built out, imagine like that's something that most companies don't have when they hire a human, right? They just slowly get there over time, and eventually they're like, okay, this is complete chaos. We need to go back and build SOPs so that this can actually work. And in my experience, that's one of the biggest things when I've gone into corporates and talked to them, and I'm talking to executive leaders and whatnot, and they're going, yeah, AI doesn't do what people say it does. And it's like, actually it does. Do you have it structured like this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And they'll go, oh no, I didn't even know you could do that. And it's like, yeah, you have to think of it. Like I had someone tell me, think of AI as like the most brilliant and most idiotic person you could possibly hire, right? And he's like, think of it as someone that has the ultimate potential that could be the best CFO you've ever had, or the best CEO, or the best whatever. But when you first hire them, they're like a kid off the street that doesn't know how to tie their shoes, right? And so it's like, you literally have to break down step by step by step, what is it that you need them to do? And that's where like a lot of what we go into for the companies that we're working with is like, how do you actually take your vision and codify it in a way that when you communicate it, everybody understands it? Because when you have that running through the company, and then you take humans and you say, okay, now go use AI, they can use AI from the perspective of, how do I execute the vision that we're all trying to do, right? So with you and taking that same sort of thing with Cool, like, what's the vision of the author? What is it that we're actually trying to execute? It's very similar in concept, but now just applying in that specific lane of publishing.
Totally. And it happens in two ways with publishing, right? So you have like your author brand, but then you have genre specifics as well, right? So each genre is going to have certain tropes and like whatever that goes, even in business books, like, there's certain different types than reader expectations. And so many people, when they come to us, they have no idea like what their genre is, or like where it is. Like even with business, like, I just wrote this business book. I was like, great. Is it about saving time? Is it about saving money? Like what is it about? Right. Cause then we know where to place you, and we know how to market everything. And ours, we have a system in there where they go through and they break that down to help you find your author brand, help you find your niche, help you find your, what is it called? Your genre and those genre expectations. And then you build everything out from there, because the idea, so it's really interesting. So Amazon has really gone away from, it used to be you could just put a whole bunch of keywords in there for discoverability, but now everything is about reader expectations, right? So your keyword, you have to do keyword search phrases. So like, it's not necessarily what somebody would type in there, but what is somebody trying to get out of your book in the end? And so like, that's the other thing, we help to get your Amazon pages so it gives the correct signals, not only to the person. It used to be you're just writing these pages for people, but now you're also writing the pages for AI, because Amazon has released their Alexa AI and then also Rufus. So they're the ones that are going to be directing traffic there as well too. So now when you're writing your descriptions and setting up your whole page, you have to think not only about writing for humans, but how to write for AI too. And so it's just like, it's very
Well,
interesting.
I'd be
So
curious,
fun.
and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but how much that actually plays directly into like LinkedIn publishing, because LinkedIn has a ton of AEO stuff that's built into the LinkedIn algorithm, and then
Mm,
same thing like YouTube, because Google owns
yeah.
YouTube, right? Second largest search engine in the world.
Yeah.
That is all now being based off of AI because Gemini is filtered in through everything. So
It's
yeah,
the whole industry, right? So the whole industry is like, what is this
yep,
expectation going to be? Like, what does the viewer, what does the reader want out of it? So I think all of those are going that way. And it's really interesting too, because you have to think about it too. Instead of SEO, there's what,
it's
GEO, is that what
AEO
it
and
is? I can't
GEO,
remember
and
the
even the
acronym.
AI people are like, no
GEO,
idea what
yeah.
it means. They change it like every 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah, but even though they change it every 2 weeks, I think it's good to wrap your head around that, because I know for myself and tons of other people, instead of going to search something in an Amazon bar like SEO,
yep,
like search engine optimization, right? Like going in there and searching the search engine, you're going to AI to do that. So like, how can you tell AI that you should be
yep,
up to the top of that list, right? So these are the future forward things that we're thinking about as we're building these books and as you're marketing them, and that's what our AI
yeah,
team kind of looks into. And the coolest thing too is like, our belief is that every author should have a whole
oh yeah,
publishing company around them. Think about that, right? Like every author, every book should have a whole publishing company around them, and their one job besides selling books is to guard your
mhm,
time so you can write more, right? And to take away all the stuff that you don't like to do so that you can do the stuff you like to do
yeah.
and get that
Well,
end
I
task.
think for us entrepreneurs that really learn how to embrace AI, that's gonna end up being like the end game, right? It's gonna be figuring out what are the things that I really love to
Oh,
do? What are
totally.
the things that I'm not either good at or I can do it, but I just don't enjoy the work? And then how can I go build an
Hmm.
agent or a model that'll go do a lot of that stuff for me so I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? And so with publishing,
Totally.
to your point, most people who are true authors, they like the writing aspect of it. They like the writing of the book.
Absolutely.
And what they
Hmm.
need is all that other stuff to be taken care of, right?
Yeah, like every author has that dream of, I'm going to write this book and then I'm going to get a publisher and it's going to
Yep.
sell millions of copies, right? So, like that's the dream, because
Yeah.
and then I can write more, right? So the dream as an author is just so that you have the publishing company, which was the
Mhm.
old system that got you, and it's breaking down, man. Like, the indie authors are starting to make way more than
Yep.
traditional in a lot of ways, because we have to learn how to market our
Yep.
own books. Think about that. I have people who were like New York Times bestselling authors coming to our company afterwards and being like, we need your help marketing because we got back our
Yeah.
rights and we don't know what we're doing. And so it's like, you're back where, USA did bestsellers, like, and then you're back like on the same page with everybody else. But them too, they just want that brand. They want that arm to do it so
Yeah.
that they can just keep writing. And that's
Yep.
what we provide, right? We provide this, system once you get it built that will function in that way and kind of make your dream come true in that way, so you can just focus on writing or selling your next or servicing your clients or
Yep.
whatever it is you want to
Yeah,
do
and
with it.
so with that in mind, I know you've obviously got some stuff coming up where people can get involved in that type of process. So if anybody's watching this, right, and they're like, "I've got a book in my head. The thing that's been holding me back is really trying to figure out all that back end stuff," right? Or even if they want to jump in and take
Right.
that other route that you have that helps them write the book, how would they come to find you? How would they
Mhm.
find out how they get involved in what you guys are doing and get help from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, best thing to do is schedule a call with us, because we'd like to see
Mhm.
where you're at on your journey. Or we have our Publishing Hackers website that you can check out. But really, what you're talking about, the cool thing about us is we can take you all the way from writing your book to published. So we have a writing club that meets 2 times a week. We have our publishing club and we have our marketing club. So we take you like all the way through and going through there. So yeah, I know, Nate, you're going to put all of our connections
Yep.
in the show notes, and
All
yeah,
right.
it's going to be
Awesome.
awesome.
Well, hey, thanks for joining me on this. And to anybody that's watching this, I've worked with Brian. I've sent clients his way because I trust Brian. I trust the company and what they do. all the clients that I've sent his way have had phenomenal results and
Oh,
brought
thank
great
you.
feedback to me saying, hey, that was awesome. It finally helped me to get my book out there. So thank you for all the great work that you do. And if you want to work with Brian, like he said, I'll have all this information in the show notes. So that will wrap it up for today's episode of the Nate Tutas Show. Be sure to come back later where we will be talking about leadership, AI, and how we put all these things into our world so that we can all become more efficient and effective together. See you soon. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. Bye.